Did you know that 40% of America's farmlands are owned by people over the age of 65? And if you haven't been aware, it's been increasingly tough for the younger generation to own anything and to take on property like, let's say, a family farm. And especially when you have corporations and companies like BlackRock who are paying more for the land than it's worth currently. So of course the farmlands are going to get bought out by corporations. It's intentional. Maybe back in the day you may have heard the term Agenda 21. It probably sounded crazy to you, like a conspiracy theory. You know, the whole New World Order. Well, what happened is they rebranded that as Agenda 2030 and they disguised it as a greener, more happy climate. But it's nothing but a full corporate takeover where, as they say, you'll own nothing and be happy. It's the Great Reset and it's absolutely real. I mean, the leader of the World Economic Forum literally wrote a book, COVID-19, The Great Reset. I don't know how much more I need to be clear that it's actually real and it's not a conspiracy theory.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
It's taking place, and the next 10 years are going to be wild. And part of this Agenda 2030 is that nobody is allowed to purchase private land after 2030, and that by 2030, 30% of the land in the world is supposed to be untouched by human beings. And by 2050, 50% of the land is not allowed to be touched by people. So where are all of those people going? They're going into smart cities. They're also calling them 15-minute cities. What a smart city is surveillance, monitoring, analysis, reporting technology, where you have a city that is separated into districts where everything that you need is within a 15-minute travel of the little cubicle home that they have you in. Where you work from, you're basically in this little metaverse cubicle, and you're not allowed to travel outside of that. It's like literally the Hunger Games, except currently without the fighting. And you can't leave your district unless you have a permit. To be a part of one of these cities, you're going to have a digital identity, not a theory at all, already taking place around the world. There are smart cities that are already happening. You're tracked on everything, your carbon footprint, what you buy, what you say, who you're associated with. You're not allowed to eat meat, well, unless it's bug meat. They'll let you eat the bug meat. By 2030, meat is strictly for the elite and wealthy people on occasion. I know it sounds crazy, because it is. It should be. But if we've learned anything from 2020, it's that society failed the rehearsal. 2020 was a test, and most of you failed. You showed how compliant you would be and how much it would cost for you to be a slave. And here in America, what was it? $1,200 for 4 months? That's all you needed to give up your freedom? That was the start of universal basic income. Now they know how much it will cost for you to shut your mouth and not care what they do with the future of the world. As long as you get to still watch your Netflix and believe what you're doing is for the greater good so that you can virtue signal on social media a little bit more. And some of you are going to say, oh, I'll never give up my freedom. Listen. You have a smartphone, you were fully aware that having that smartphone took away your privacy. And what did you do? You went out and got a smart microwave, a smart refrigerator, a smart thermostat. Not only did you put cameras on the outside of your house, but you put cameras all on the inside of your house. Knowing that there were people that were hacking into them, you still chose to do it. And I hear so many people say it doesn't matter, it's not going to happen in my lifetime. You know who those people are? Parents. People who maybe it won't happen in a lifetime. Maybe their time frame of 2030 and 2050 won't actually happen, but it's going to happen in your children's lifetime, and you don't care. As long as you're comfortable today, you don't care about tomorrow. We have become so incredibly, stupidly compliant that we don't even deserve freedom anymore. So the further back they push us, we just keep backing up until we stop for a little bit, and then they hold off. Then they come back a little bit later and they push us back further. And then we push back. And then they stop. And then they come back and do it again. Over and over and over again until your back is against the wall and you can no longer go back. And part of the Agenda 2030 is that if the government deems your land, your area, to be polluted or a hazard, they can force you out of your home and they can move you into cities. So when you see toxic train derailments, factory explosions, and you have water being polluted, ground being polluted, air being polluted, all the government has to do is come in and say, I'm sorry, you can no longer live here. They take you out and they move you into one of these cities where you're going to live in a little box and you won't be able to do anything except live in this tiny little district in your city, watching the elite continue to fly planes over your head. And if you want to go further, you're going to get taxed for it. So basically, the world is going to become China, where people are jumping to their death because they're locked in their house, unable to go buy food. So every single year in China, 30 million more people are moving into the cities, being forced into the cities to save them from poverty, they say. And it's not the rural areas that are polluted with smog, it's the cities. It's not the rural areas that have 7-year-olds that are setting fire to 5-year-olds because the gangs told them they have to or they'll die. It's not the rural areas where you have all these mass shootings. It's happening in the cities. There's a reason why we choose to live rural. It's not the rural areas where people are shitting and pissing on the sidewalks, where you have tent cities all over the place, where they incentivize homelessness. It's happening in the cities, where they're going to clump everybody together and they're going to try to make some utopia, but it's not going to happen. What's going to happen is you own nothing and you're not going to like it. They're taking everything from the future generation and they're disguising it as some poverty-free place. But how can you be poverty-free when you don't own anything and you can't do anything, where there are laws on everything, from what you buy and who you can speak to, where you can walk and what you can eat? It doesn't make sense. And it's sad to see so many people lack discernment, lack critical thinking, choose willful ignorance over their family. I know so many people that are willingly doing this. They're going to monitor every single thing you do. Have you ever seen the movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale, where it's the thought police? We're talking Brave New World, 1984. This is all real. Just look at all the Hollywood movies about dystopian futures. Hollywood has been desensitizing people. They put things in movies so people are like, that can't happen in real life. It happens in a movie. It's a movie script. Yeah, that's to keep you dumb and compliant. And what do you think Trump's freedom cities are going to be? You think Trump's just going to go build an old style city? No. Trump's not going to have a say in it. If he even gets elected, he's got a max of 4 years. And then what's going to happen is somebody else is going to take over, and that city is going to become a smart city. It's going to become one of these 15-minute cities. Look it up. 15-minute city is a real thing. They're already happening. We're not going to get away from it. And if you want to live rural, which they'll force us out as best they can, but those of us that choose to live that lifestyle will get taxed so incredibly heavy that you can't live there anymore and you have to move to a city. That's what's going to happen. Or you'll be lucky enough to live there the rest of your life, but you will be the last one on that land. So cash, I think, is a necessity, and tight-knit communities are the most important thing that we can have right now and in the future, so we can rely on each other, because the one world government is coming for you. Remember, they used to call it the New World Order, and everybody said, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Then you had world leaders like the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Now he's calling it the liberal world order. That's all they have to do is change a word around in a phrase, and we fall for it. It's like we're stupid or something. But again, we literally took $1,200 for 4 months and we were okay with that. When they forced us out of our jobs in order to take an experimental, irreversible medical procedure. So when your child asks you in 15, 20 years, Mommy, Daddy, why did you let this happen to me? Why'd you let me cut my dick off? Why do we have to keep eating grasshoppers? Tell them, because you didn't give a fuck. Thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't seen my video for the Great Reset, go to my YouTube page. Otherwise, the song is streaming everywhere.
You own nothing and like it. The poor are the cause of our climate crisis.